Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Anime Movie Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Joe Welke.
I'm Kat Hamilton.
And today we're talking about a 2000 film by Mamoru Hosoda. The one that we haven't gotten to yet.
Digimon, digital monsters.
Digimon are the
Champions.
Digimon the movie. We did Pokemon the movie a little while ago, and we were like, well, we might as well do some more Mons. So we got Digimon the movie. I think that you had a hard time getting it.
A little bit. This isn't a movie that you can stream basically anywhere, but you can find it in a kind of shitty quality on YouTube.
Yeah, I think
and you can watch the whole thing that way.
I think that the whole thing is on YouTube, and that is where we're going to be cutting our clips from.
Yeah, I didn't check. I don't know if you can purchase it on iTunes or, to watch on YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found it on DVD on Amazon. It ranges in price. There are some really expensive versions.
I mean, we all know why now, because it's just the single greatest movie ever made.
A masterpiece. Yeah. Joe, you have a vast knowledge of Pokemon.
Yeah, I was going to say that at the beginning of this.
Do you have a vast knowledge of Digimon?
No.
I see.
See, I liked Digimon, and in some ways I preferred Digimon to Pokemon, but when watching this movie, I realized the gaps in my knowledge. I was like, I remember what they look like. I don't remember what any of the people's names were. I didn't remember a lot of the Digimon's names. But like Pokemon, I was like, oh yeah, that's a Dugong. Oh yeah, that's a Pinsir. Like I could name a whole fuckload of them. But with Digimon, it just didn't stick as much. But I did enjoy Digimon. I did enjoy watching it. I watched the series as a kid. I had Digimon cards. They had Digimon cards as well. They were definitely not as popular. And I think it's mentioned before, but I had a Digimon. They had like Digimon Tamagotchi things that you could clip on your belt.
Yeah.
And as you walk, they get stronger and evolve. And
I didn't know that it was because of stuff. So it was a pedometer and...
Yeah, basically.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, or... Even if you just wanted them to evolve quicker and become more powerful, you could just sit in a chair and just go.
I was listening to somebody talk recently about, what they did as kids and how incredibly dangerous it was. And they were like, it's actually really good today that kids have computers, because otherwise they'd be doing this stupid shit, like running out in front of cars just to see if they'll swerve or whatever, just absurd. Yeah. I just tried to think of the most ridiculous, dangerous thing I could possibly think of.
I mean, I did a bunch of like Jackass type stuff, because when we were kids, that was what was popular, was like Jackass and CKY. So we were doing like a bunch of stuff like jumping into bushes and skateboarding.
But like maybe kids do that less today. Like they're going to get eye strain, but maybe not broken limbs as often.
I think these kids are still skateboarding at least.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know how much Jackass stuff they're doing.
So this movie, you said, has influenced you. Absolutely.
This movie was a huge influence on my life. This movie was oddly enough, was my introduction to punk/ska punk music.
Okay. Because
on the soundtrack is a band called Less Than Jake, and the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones were on it, as well as the Bare Naked Ladies. They're not ska punk or whatever, but I forgot that the Bare Naked Ladies 1 week was on this, and I was like, as soon as it started, I was like, oh fuck yeah, it's been. Fucking love that song, dude.
There was some Smash Mouth too.
Yeah, Smash Mouth All-Star was on it, which I completely forgot about too. But I remembered Less Than Jake and Mighty Mighty Boss Tones because that Less Than Jake album. So the song that's on this movie is All My Best Friends Are Metalheads. And that album that song is from is my favorite album of all time. Bar none. Just and nothing has come close to like beating it. Like there are albums that I can listen to all the way through, but that album has stuck with me since the year 2000.
Yeah, I mean, the soundtrack is super fun.
Yeah.
A lot of popular commercial vocal tunes that were very much of the time, which work. I think it works well. I think they're fun choices. And Pokemon came out in the summer of 1998. in the US on WB. And then following the popularity of that, then there was a rush to kind of import similar commodities as far as anime goes. So there was Digimon, there was Cardcaptor Sakura, and there was also Monster Ranch.
Monster Rancher.
Monster Rancher.
Yeah, which was, I feel like that one was the third most popular.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
Yeah, I watched.
As you can tell, because I called it Monster Ranch.
Well, I watched a little bit of Monster Rancher, and I know that they had a PS1 game that had this like cool thing where if you like put it in a movies DVD, it would open some kind of monster for you to ranch or grow or whatever.
Oh.
But yeah, Digimon was definitely the second most popular behind
It
Pokemon.
was the most second of
It was
all.
the most second popular. I never heard of the other one that you said, Cardcaptor Sakura.
Cardcaptor Sakura, and I think that was more of a shonen one, because I remember it. I was reading up about it, and then I was like, oh my god, I remember that show. I'd totally gone out of my mind.
Did you ever watch Digimon though?
I don't remember. I mean, I was aware of it existing. You know, I feel like Pokemon is kind of the Coke and Digimon's kind of the Pepsi.
Yeah. You're like, we don't have Pokemon. Is it okay if we have Digimon? And you're just kind of like, okay.
So Digimon came a little later on. And it seems like it was pretty quick because, I mean, 1998 is when Pokemon was introduced to America, and I think Digimon was 99.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And then by the end of 1999, Pokemon, the first movie, had come out, and by 2000, the Digimon movie, had come out. Now, Digimon the movie, not a movie in Japan.
Yeah.
Toei animation company, at least at the time that Digimon was imported into the US, was the biggest animation company in Japan and one of the biggest ones in the world. And it's the one that was producing Digimon, which ended up on Fox Kids. And they had kind of a film festival every year where they would do featurettes of current series. And they would usually go along with the plot lines of whatever was going on. Sometimes they would introduce new characters that would be coming up in later seasons.
Yeah.
And it was usually like 80 or 90 minutes of a couple of these featurettes. So when Digimon picked up popularity, and it was actually kind of even as far as like television ratings went with Pokemon. Even though, you know, most people are disappointed by Pepsi when that's the only option. People weren't as disappointed by Digimon.
Yeah.
And then with the popularity of the Pokemon movie, then Fox is like, well, we can't be outdone.
Yeah.
So we need to put together a Digimon movie. So this is 3 featurettes that were kind of smashed together that were never meant to be a feature-length film. And so there is something weirdly disjointed about it, and they had to add voiceover, and a lot of it was rewritten.
So you didn't have any kind of like previous knowledge about, or that you remember, of Digimon aside from the kick-ass theme song?
Yeah, I remember the theme song, which is already stuck in my head.
Yeah.
And I remembered the like Digimon like Tamagotchi type things. I remember people having them. I didn't have one myself. I never played the card game, never played any kind of video game based off of it. I assume there's a video game based off of it.
There has to be.
There has to be. And maybe I'd seen like one episode because I like watching this, or a couple of characters. I was like, they look familiar.
Yeah.
That might have happened in my childhood way. And I remembered it being connected to the internet and the digital world.
Yeah, this one was interesting because I feel like from what I remember of the series is the Digimon didn't really come into the human world very often. It was always them going into the digital world to have their adventures and do all kinds of fun digital monster adventures. But in this movie, like, the Digimon are just out in the human world all the time. And I was like, I don't quite remember it being like that. And if they were out in the human world, the Digidestined would try to hide them from people. But they're just out in the open here destroying shit.
Yeah, and I think part of that Toei Animation Festival that they would do is giving kids a chance to see their favorite TV show in a slightly different light, or they did kind of mix things up for these featurettes, and they would usually have higher production value as far as the animation would go. So I wouldn't be surprised if they put like a little spin on it as far as that goes.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, like this is kind of Mamoru Hosoda's big break directing stuff, and following like the success, in quotes, success of the Digimon movie. Like the Studio Ghibli people saw this, and that's when they asked him if he wanted to direct Howl's Moving Castle, and then that fell through, obviously.
Yeah,
but his animation style is in this movie. It's very matte, very not shiny, and the series is not like that at all. So I remember watching this movie and being like, this looks very different. And it kind of confused me, but I remember loving this movie, not just for the soundtrack, because it's got a kick-ass soundtrack. Even the like original songs that they have on the soundtrack that were made for Digimon, because they'd play some of the songs in the series. They're pretty good. I would listen to them. Like I remember specifically downloading them when I was a kid, and just listening to them as I was skateboarding and stuff. And when they came on, I still remembered the words. I was like, oh, fuck it. You run around, I run around. We're all gonna run around.
and I even enjoy the very 90s rap by, was it MC Peapod?
Yeah, MC Peapod.
Yeah.
To open the movie.
Amazing name. And it's so dumb, but it's fun.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I mean, we thought that this was Mamoru Hosoda's feature film directorial debut, but it was, when he directed it, it was never a feature.
Yeah.
It was 3 different shorts. So that's kind of a weird gray line there.
Yeah. I mean, in America, it's his debut, I guess.
Yeah.
As a feature film, but yeah.
I wonder how he felt about it being produced as a feature film.
I mean, he was fucking rolling in that fat
I guess.
Digimon cash. I don't think he gave a fuck.
That Digicash.
Digicash, baby. He was the original Bitcoin guy.
Yeah. So, a very popular critique of, well, it's not really a critique of this film. It's really a critique of Summer Wars, which is one of my favorites of his, and I think one of yours.
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't want to get too presumptuous there.
I think it is my favorite of his.
Okay. The featurette, the middle featurette is very similar to the plot line of Summer Wars.
Yeah.
But Summer Wars is totally fleshed out. It's a very different kind of world. Conceptually really similar, but
visually very similar too at certain points. But again, so much more fleshed out. You had these moments of it, the digital world is weird and abstract and has floating objects. But it was so much more fully realized in Summer Wars. So I kind of feel like, with Mamoru Hosoda doing this featurette of this initial idea and then taking it later on and actually making a feature film out of it and kind of changing the world a bit, I think that's totally fair. Yeah, I mean, it's like one of those things where you can see where he was going with something, or like you can see how his influence even influenced his own work later on down the road. But there were some parts when the Digimon are in the internet where it just looks incredibly similar. At least to me, it looked incredibly similar to Summer Wars, and I was just like, oh, okay, so I see why this was the critique of Summer Wars.
Yeah, I think in Summer Wars, for the visual look of the digital world, there is that kind of abstract floating object thing. But in this, it was like a couple of cogs and screws floating around, or like some ladders. And I felt like when you watch Summer Wars, it's like an entire world. You know, it feels like when you're in a video game and you're like, would you like to go to this place or would you like to go to this place? So in that way, it felt different to me. I mean, you can't deny at all that there are similarities, but I'm so glad that he did Summer Wars. I'm so glad he was like, you know what? I've already done that idea.
Yeah.
Can't do it anymore. That's reserved for that 25 minutes of Digimon featurette. Can never explore that idea again.
You know what's funny is there's a band called Anne Berlin that I know of, who is like a pop punk kind of emo band. And one of their first albums, they recorded a bunch of songs, obviously. And then like 2 albums later, they re-recorded some of the songs, or at least one of the songs from that first album, because it kind of was like, oh, we can do this better now. Like now we have like more of a budget or something, or we have more time to do it. And the second version is better. And I feel like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what happened here, I feel.
Yeah.
Like the first stab at that, maybe he didn't have the budget, maybe he didn't have the time, and they were like, no, this is only like a 30-minute thing. And he's like, well, I thought that was a pretty fucking cool idea that I could maybe make longer. I don't know. I like Summer Wars. I like this. I feel like we need to do a synopsis at this point. We've been talking for quite a bit without talking about what any of these are about, really.
Sure. I mean, the thing is that, this is kind of confusing to watch if you don't know the series.
I was going to ask you that.
Especially confusing because there are so many characters, because they're trying to kind of get in all the season 1 characters that anyone watching the series would know and love. And they had 54 episodes to learn the names of and the characters and, the relationships and whatever. And then one of the other featurettes that's in this is also introducing season 2 characters that are new.
Yeah.
So if you haven't watched the series, it's a lot of names, a lot of people, and a lot of things to kind of catch up on very quickly, which means that afterwards I kind of read up on what was going on in the series in general, which is, I mean, it's basically just kids will have Digimon, which are creatures that are part of the internet. And if you're chosen to kind of be one of these kids who has a Digimon, then you're digi-destined to fight against an evil force that's trying to kind of fuck the world up through the internet.
Yeah.
And so it's all their adventures with their, Digimon and against this dark force and all of that.
The dark web.
Yeah.
And fighting against the intellectual dark web, Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson.
So with Pokemon, where you're supposed to try to catch like one of every, in the first series, at least 150 of them, this is about having your one and only, and there's like this relationship and mutual support that comes from the Digimon to the kid.
Yeah.
But would you like to take the synopsis for the 3 featurettes?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, the first featurette is kind of like an introduction to Digimon. It's kind of like how the team first encountered Digimon and how it affected their lives thereafter. Because I think it was, from what I remember in the series, is there's a big event where there are Digimon in the real world, and anyone who saw this event happen became one of the Digi-destined. And we see that event in the first featurette. The second featurette is about a Digimon that has spread a virus to the internet, and the Digi-destined have to combat this Digimon that's spreading the virus and fucking the world up.
And it might be the fault of one of them, but it's not really ever explained.
Yeah. And then the third one's the one that I feel like is kind of the least good. It's about one of the original Digi-destined who is not in Japan, not witnessing the event that causes everyone in the original series to become one of the Digi-destined. It is about a kid in America who is some kind of genius, some kind of computer genius.
Very precocious.
Yeah, who somehow has twin Digimon, because as you said before, the part of Digimon is like you only get one, and that's your bro. That's your sidekick. That's who you go to battle with and who you go to battle for. This guy somehow got 2, and now he's having some trouble with one of them. One of them is an evil twin, it seems.
Yeah.
And now the second season Digimon characters have to try and help him figure out what's going on. And that's where I think there can be some confusion, or not confusion. It's just like, it's a lot of information to take in.
Yeah. I mean, because you have kind of an origin story, and then you have this kind of season 1 contemporary thing, and then you have this like season 2 thing. And in season 2, one of the main characters is Kari.
Yeah.
Who is the little sister of the main guy, Tai, in season 1. But now she's older.
Yeah.
By several years. So there's like this, so there's like these 5 or 6 year gaps between these 3 featurettes.
Yeah.
So it feels like vignettes where you're kind of in it. And, initially when you're like, okay, origin story. And then, and it's kind of like, oh, if I haven't seen it before, I'm kind of getting some background information right now, which is nice. And then cut to, but let me tell you about this thing that happened this amount of time in. But then it's like, oh, but let me tell you about this other thing that happened.
So that thing happened, right? And then this thing happened. Yeah. This other thing happened that originally wasn't related at all, but in America, we made it related.
At the end of the second featurette, it even says like, you'd think that was the end, but that was just the beginning. It's like, no, that was the end.
Yeah.
No, this is, and then it's a new thing.
So our narrator is Kari, who is the major through line through all of these stories because she is there in the first featurette. And in the Digimon series, she is a character. She's a part of the team that is, going on digital adventures. But in the first season, she's just kind of like Ty's kid sister who doesn't really know much about the world. And she has her own Digimon, I believe. I think that she's part of the like main cast because I remember seeing her. And she's also a part of season 2 as an older kind of leader, experienced Digimon trainer. I don't remember what they're Digidestined, whatever. And so she narrates the whole movie and kind of clues you into what's going on and who these certain people are. But another thing that is different that I actually forgot about until I saw it is even between the first and second season, the way that the Digimon digivolve changes. And I forgot about that until it happened. And I was like, oh, right.
And digivolve is evolving into another form.
Yeah. So the difference between evolution in Digimon and Pokemon is in Pokemon, when they evolve, they stay that way. In Digimon, it's based on like the threat of the enemy and how energized they are, so they can digivolve. And then if they start to get their ass whipped, then they devolve back to like their original thing.
Digivolve.
Doesn't
work. It doesn't work if you put digi on that one.
But I remember they had like a bunch of different classes. So there's like a baby class, then there's rookie, champion, ultimate, and then like beyond that, I can't remember.
Yeah, it basically ranges from plush toy to action figure.
Yeah. And they get more and more badass as they digivolve. I wish I could remember like all of the different things.
I could not name a single Digimon. I just watched it and heard so many names.
I mean, I can't name many of them. I can only name like the ones that I already remembered and like maybe 2 or 3 more. But I wish I could remember the classes because I know that there's champion, I know that there's ultimate, but I don't remember and rookie. But beyond that, I can't really remember.
Something in between. There's some kind of beginner-mediate.
Yeah, but yeah, that's basically kind of how it works. And I could say that it definitely is a lot of information for if you've never seen it before, and it could be difficult to get into if you're not there with a seasoned pro like yours truly, who barely remembers most of this stuff.
And then the other things that were very different from Pokemon is that they seem to eat and poop and talk. They can actually talk in full sentences.
Yeah, they can talk, yeah.
Oh, they seem to talk less the more like digivolved they are.
Well, because when they're super, super digivolved, they're like, shit's going down. Like they
have to focus, Kat.
Yeah, they need to save up their energy in order to do those giant leaps in digi-evolution.
And talking is just...
Well, I mean, they're not going to be like an ultimate Digimon and just hanging out.
What if one of them got really smart when it digivolved and then it couldn't stop talking?
See, I think that they are smart. It's just like when they're in ultimate mode, they're fighting.
Yeah.
They're not going to chit chat.
Yeah, but what if they weren't?
Then there's no reason to do it because it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of digi energy.
Okay.
That'd be like, hey, how come you're not being able to talk in full sentences while you're sprinting? You know? It's kind of like that.
Sure.
You seem skeptical.
It's digi-cardio.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So should we get into spoilers? Is this an awkward transition?
Yeah, let's spoil it.
They wouldn't spoil this, right? Oh, God. They can't spoil this, please, right? Don't spoil this. Spoiler talk, anime movie podcast, spoiler talk.
Okay. So which of
Wait, we didn't talk about Angela Anaconda.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad that okay. Now we're in spoilers, so we can talk about fucking stupid ass Angela Anaconda, which I completely forgot about. And then it started happening, and it was like a vague fever dream memory. And I was like, what the fuck is happening here?
That was such a blast from the past, but not one that actually like sparked the full memory. It's just every time I saw another one of these really oddly animated characters, I was like, wait, I've seen this before.
Yeah, it was like
in another lifetime. Maybe I was reincarnated and I used to live in Canada and watch this fucking weird cartoon.
Yeah.
They take like a black and white photo of a child's face in a couple of different, sort of expressions, and then have this kind of animation body. And there's something about it that's kind of South Park-esque to me.
Yes.
Based on the fact that it's kind of like these cutouts on top of each other. And then I read up on it, and yeah, this was a Fox Kids thing, but it was originally a Canadian children's cartoon, and it is bizarre.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, just from the fucking, 5 minutes of it that we got, it was very, very bizarre.
And I feel like, because initially I thought that this would be like, for some reason, Fox did this as like an add-on to this Japanese film, but because it was never a feature film in the first place, it's like they had to hit a certain time to make it a feature properly. And they decided, okay, well, if the featurettes together are going to get us to this time, let's also put on the beloved
We're still 5 minutes short.
Angela Anaconda on the top of this.
Yeah, it seemed like it was like a weird tie-in to a Fox show, but I didn't ever watch Angela Anaconda. And it was just like so weird and out of place. And if you were, I'm going to be honest, when we started watching it, I was like, did we get some kind of whack-ass bootleg thing that's like, what is this? But it was very weird. It wasn't funny. All the kids were very horrifying looking.
And it went on for so long.
Yeah.
So long. And, it was funny. I was just researching it because I was just like, as soon as they said Angela Anaconda, I was like, Angela Anaconda. That's ringing a bell for me. And I was like Googling, and the third thing that came up was Angela Anaconda Digimon. And there was a Reddit thread that somebody put up 1 year ago that was posting that short of Angela Anaconda. And then there was all of these comments underneath about it where people were like, oh my God, I forgot about this. This was so weird. If you find it on YouTube, it doesn't have this on the top of it. But
the Digimon movie doesn't have it?
It doesn't have that on the top of it when you go to YouTube and have the full movie. If you get the DVD, or if you probably rent it from somewhere or stream it from somewhere, the official version, this is part of the movie.
I wonder if it's still on, if it's on my VHS tape of it. I wonder if I still have the VHS
interesting.
tape.
I mean, it must be.
It must, because when I saw it, I was like, this is vaguely familiar, but it's just so weird. And it's like Angela Anaconda's at the movie theater with her friends to see the Digimon movie, and they're all excited. And then some lady with big hair sits in front of them, and then Angela Anaconda's rival is there. And she's like, haha, sucks to be you, Angela Anaconda. And then Angela Anaconda like imagines that she's a Digimon and beats up her rival. And then that's basically it.
Yeah, and then they realize that when the film starts, they're in the wrong theater, and they all scramble to get to the other theater.
Yeah, I could have done without this. But it also,
everyone, the whole world could have done without this.
I feel like this is like a very strange thing, because when it aired on ABC Family, the Digimon movie, they cut it out.
Okay.
In Japan, obviously, they didn't have this. So this only existed in like theaters and in America and on the DVD, and Angela Anaconda wasn't in America as a show, I don't think.
Yeah, it was on Fox.
It
was on
was?
Fox Kids.
Okay, it must have not been very popular because I don't remember watching it at all. But seeing the
I would like to know more.
yeah,
I also want to know less.
yeah, it was like it must have been one of those things where it's like, okay, you need to have 90 minutes. They're like, our
Right?
shit's 85.
Yeah.
Angela Anaconda, what do you got?
Oh man.
So the first featurette is the first sightings of Digimon and Koromon, it's the baby version of Koromon. Before it can talk, just appears in Tai and Kari's house. And Kari takes a liking to it because it's very cute. Not going to deny it.
Sure.
Very cute. And Tai is like, what the heck is that thing? And this whole first thing is just so adorable until it becomes dangerous and scary.
Yeah. It becomes scary really quickly. And the digivolving, digivolution happens really fast. I mean, when you're watching Pokemon, or if that's kind of your introduction to these kind of kids with monster animes, you might expect that they have to earn, the evolutions, but this was just like one after the other.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this how it always happens? But it's, because you were saying that they do it based off of the threat level and based off their energy. But this one just seemed to be doing it periodically as the time went on.
Yeah, it's a complicated thing because there's like the Digi egg, and the egg comes out of the computer or television. I forget what it was already from the movie. And then it hatches into like this baby thing. And then like a day later, it digivolves into what I thought was the baby form, because I remember Tai's Digimon was Agumon, and this is the baby form of Agumon, because when it digivolves again, it turns into Agumon, which is that orange dinosaur.
Yeah.
But Tai's is a lot smaller, and this one's real big. So they were like, even in the movie narration, they're like, this Agumon was a lot bigger than ours, and it was different, and this isn't the same Agumon that we know and love. So,
and at the end of that Agumon just gets away.
Yeah, so he digivolves again into Greymon, and he fights a Parrotmon, who just is a giant egg that appears from the sky.
I thought it was going to be so much, because the egg is huge. Like,
Yeah.
It's absolutely humongous.
It takes up a large portion of the sky.
And then it just opens, and it's like there's if this was the size of the egg, that would be the size of the creature.
Yeah,
that
the
comes out
letter
of it.
R on there would be the size of on sweetener right there.
Yeah, it's about. I thought you meant that, or I was like, no, that would be huge. Yeah, about that size.
And so that Parrotmon comes out, and this is where all of the cast from season 1 witnesses this Digimon event, where there's like a weird convergence between the real world and the digital world. So you got Matt, you got Joe, you got Mimi, you got Tai, TK, and Kari, and Izzy. They all see this happen, and along with like a bunch of other children who I didn't recognize, and maybe they come into play in the series, but I honestly don't remember.
This
My
city
memory
seems to only have children.
Yeah, right. They're all out on their balconies watching these fucking dinosaurs.
Where are the parents? What are they doing?
They're snoozing.
I guess
They got work in the morning.
Yeah,
Took their melatonin.
sure.
They got a white noise machine. Nothing's waking them up. So they all see this fight happen, and after Greymon and Parrotmon fight, they just kind of disappear. And then everybody forgets about it for 4 years, it seems. But I think it was a good introduction to what Digimon are, how all of this came to be.
Sure.
It didn't have the explanation that I was giving you, or you, dear listeners, of like, this is an event And this is where all of the Digimon like originated from, and this is how we got the whole series.
Yeah, there was
basically.
no moment where it went, and that's how we became Digidestined.
Yeah.
They just kind of said it really quickly at the beginning, like, we're part of a group and it's Digidestined, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Say what?
So that could be confusing. But everything about that first one is very cute. Kari's got her little whistle that she carries around and whistles around, and she has a little koala pajama suit.
Oh my God, the koala pajama suit.
Yeah, it was very
So
cute.
cute.
And Ty is really cute. Like Ty was like the badass of the first season. Like he and Matt were like best buds, and they were the most powerful Digimon users. And even he was really cute in this one. Like he was just like so adorable. Did you think that the Digimon was cute when it was like kissing them and being weird?
No.
What about the first form of the Digimon? That little black speck thing.
That thing was frightening.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a black, so it looks like a black dust mite with glowing golden eyes. It looks like a tiny demon.
I thought it was kind of cute.
I thought it was going to be something evil. There were other Digimon later in the second featurette that I thought were very cute. In the third, I guess it was in the third that I really, the adorability level kind of went up for me.
And also the shiny level kind of went up too.
It absolutely went up in the third one.
The animation was different. That must have been Hosoda like really trying some new tactics.
Yeah, I mean, the style was still very similar, but there's a character in the second featurette, Izzy, whose eyes are just black.
Yeah.
Like there's zero shine in the eyes. And then other characters just kind of have like one little sort of circle of light. But the third featurette, people like 4 or 5, it still didn't like glow or sparkle, but there was a lot more, I guess they all had a lot of, like eye drops or something, just a lot more moisture in the eyes.
They were in a humider climate.
Yeah.
More humid climate.
Yeah, because they're in New York in the summer, and then they make their way to
Colorado, the landlocked state. It's so humid there.
So humid, yeah.
From all that water.
It's a jungle, I hear.
So is there anything else from the first one that you want to spoil or talk about? Because I feel, I've kind of run out of things really to say about it.
I mean, you said the whole thing, honestly.
You're welcome, everybody. I got you covered.
So in the second featurette is when we get this this virus going into the digital world that, the theme that is later explored in Summer Wars. And this one, for some reason, both the second and the third featurette seem to suggest that Willis is fucking up. And Willis is the kid who's from America. And
you hear an inkling about him in the first featurette.
Yeah, and I think that was probably added.
Actually.
Just because, I don't think they added animation. I just think that the VO specifically was like, and here's this guy, and he had twins, and it says a little extra about him to kind of lead up to him, because basically both the second featurette and third featurette, the things that go wrong, it suggested that it is Willis who caused those things.
So Willis actually wasn't originally in the second one. He was in the first one, and he was in the third one, but the second one is where they added some footage of Willis and included him a bit more into it, because I think that originally he had nothing to do with the second shit.
That makes a lot of sense, especially because the way that they included him a lot of the time was having him pop up as an email.
Yeah.
And because it was so vague and never addressed exactly what he'd done to cause it. I guess they were like, well, he's like a hacker kid. He must have done something that created this virus.
Yeah. They mention in the second one that Izzy is in contact with Willis, and he's like a super smart computery. He's a super smart computery guy. And he's like their age, like 11 or 12, and he's already taking classes at Colorado University or Colorado State or something. And it carries weight because Izzy is their computery guy. So when he's like, this Willis guy is smart, and he's telling me about all this shit. So that's where that carries weight, with like Willis being kind of a prodigy of computers and later you find out that he potentially created this virus Digimon. Well, actually, he straight up admits it in the third one, but in Japan, that's not what goes down.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just Fox was trying to find some kind of a through line to make these make sense and go together. So the idea is that, this virus thing, this problem that he created, luckily, other people take care of it and fix it. But then it turns out that there are still, repercussions from that event that turn one of his twins into something kind of evil, or he thinks it's evil.
Yeah.
And then they have to manage to figure out what's going on there. And then I didn't think that thing was going to die, but they have to kill it initially, well, essentially to fix the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was going to be like, oh, they fixed the problem and then
But
it
remnants
lives.
still haunt the internet
Yeah.
on porn sites and podcasts.
What are you saying
like
about Willis?
the Anime Movie Podcast. We're evil, Diaboromon. So yeah, Izzy discovers that there's this virus Digimon that's taking over the net, and it's eating up a bunch of digital information, and it's causing the real world to get fucked up. Like banks are unable to process requests, and cashiers are having a hard time, and the internet's going down, and phone lines are going down. And he and Ty are trying to figure out how to destroy this thing, and the team of the original cast of Digimon are all spread out through the world. It was like that they couldn't get the original voice actors to be in this at all, so they had to just be like, all right, well, this is a Ty and Izzy and I guess Matt for a little bit adventure.
It struck me as being like they're in a pinch where they don't have the whole team together, and so they have to take care of something on their own.
But if this is this is the big Digimon movie, you'd want to see all of the people that you've come to grow and love. You know what I mean?
Sure. I
So-
mean, I think as far as the featurette goes.
Yeah.
But I think that had it not been such a rush to try to compete with the Pokemon movies, they might have maybe funded
Yeah.
a Digimon movie, and maybe it would have been based off of these featurettes because they seem to like the storylines. It's just interesting that they decided to just try and kind of smash it together.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of is a hindrance to the movie, though. Like, I feel like this doesn't really capture the spirit of Digimon because so many really important characters are just like on vacation, like that you only see them for like a second, and some of the big, players of the show, they're just not there.
Yeah, and for anybody who hadn't seen the series, that might not register for them. For me, it was just kind of like, okay, they're really honing in on the fact that like they're on their own to deal with this. And I kind of liked it because it reminded me of kind of what happens when you have a group of people that are part of a team. Like normally you find it, maybe in high school, maybe in college, or that there's times in your life where it feels like these are the most important people to me, like this is my group, and then that kind of time ends and everybody kind of ends up in a different place. And it kind of made sense to me as the bridge between sort of like a season 1 and a season 2, because it's kind of like this group isn't as together as they were anymore. They're all spread out. They're all in these different places. And even if they want to help, they can't.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're introducing these season 2 characters. So it's like, this is the new group. So now we're going to focus on this group since this one's kind of moved on and grown older. And
Yeah, that could make sense if this featurette had happened like after the end of season 1 and they're like, okay, here's a featurette to tide you over and where everybody is at right now, like an OVA, I guess.
that's kind of what it was supposed to be.
Yeah. But as a standalone, I feel like it doesn't capture what Digimon was all about.
Totally understand that. Yeah.
Missing characters, you don't get their relationships, you don't even see some of the people's Digimon, so it's weird. So Ty and Izzy are tasked with defeating this virus thing that Izzy is warned about and sees, and it's growing, and fucking up the world. So they go back and find like the digital world, or they get reached out to by the arbiter of the digital world, who is a guy named like Genai, who I completely forgot about. He's like an old wise man that takes them through their adventures. I honestly have no idea about that guy.
He was on screen for like 7 seconds.
Yeah, I don't remember him at all from the series. I'm assuming that he's a big part of it, but that just didn't. I guess he's like the Professor Oak of Digimon.
Right. I mean, it kind of struck me as there's weird things happening. You know, you're starting to see the digital world get fucked with. So, you know, somebody's buying chocolate and it's 1,000,000 yen or whatever it is. And then people are getting phone calls all over the world because of this hacking into the sort of telephone communication lines. And then it's kind of like the kids are like, we should check in with what's going on in the digital world.
Yeah.
And then we see Ganai for 5 seconds in total being like, hey, what's up?
Hey, shit's fucked up.
And then he's like,
here's all your Digimon.
Here's all of their names at once. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, and
Hope there's not a quiz.
It was also kind of muffled too. Like I couldn't hear what he was saying. Like I couldn't hear the names of most of them. So I could only hear the ones that I was like vaguely remembering. Like Agumon, I knew his name. I remember after he said it was like Tentamon or something, the little insect Izzy Digimon. I couldn't remember the name of Matt's Digimon until it evolved into Garurumon, and then it also could evolve into... So it was like Garurumon, then it would evolve into Were Garurumon, and that was like Metal Garurumon. There's all kinds of crazy shit going on.
Yeah, so Matt and his little brother TK are with their grandma out in the countryside or something, and because the phone lines are down, there's something that happens where at least they're able to leave each other voicemails. So it's like the slowest walkie-talkie process going on back and forth to kind of figure things out. I did appreciate that there was some very good humor in this. I thought there were some great jokes, and I imagine they were written for the American version. But there were only like a small handful that kind of fell flat for me. Like I had some genuine chuckles.
Yeah, no,
throughout.
I was laughing out loud.
Yeah.
It was the second one is super funny. Like the first and third ones were like they're okay, but the second one had some killer jokes in it. It was so good.
It's like when Ty is trying to get in contact with Matt and TK. There's this whole exchange with the senile grandmother over the phone where she's not understanding, and it's this big frustration thing, and it was genuinely amusing.
Yeah, and then there's a scene where Izzy's reading email from commenters about the battle that's going on, because everyone on the internet is able to watch this battle between Greymon and Garurumon against Diaboromon, who is the evil virus Digimon.
You could say anything and then Mon, and I'll believe you. If you say it with confidence.
So Izzy's reading some of the comments. He's like reading the YouTube comments basically of this battle that's going on. And it's just like, Greymon stinks. He's not a good battler. He should just give up. And then Ty's like, what the hell did you say about Greymon? And then Izzy's like, I'm just reading the comments. And then Ty goes, well, you didn't have to read them so well. And I just started cracking up. Like, I thought that was so funny. Like, the mom has some funny lines. The mom's cooking all this horrible, insane food that no one would ever cook or eat.
It's like beef jerky shake and like liver sticks and spinach cookies. I just kept getting really grossed out.
I love that she was like, you guys want me to make a 3-bean casserole? And they're like, no, we're good. And she's like, okay, good. I only had 2 beans anyway.
And that was pretty funny too. And I was thinking, as soon as she said 3-bean casserole, I was like, that's actually a thing, though. Like, all of the other things that she's talking about are just disgusting, imaginative things that somebody came up with. And you explained to me that was a running joke through the series.
Yeah.
I don't know that it happened as often in the series as it did in that featurette, because there must have been 12 things in that 20 minutes that she was cooking. Yeah, and she seems super clueless all the time. But I guess that's
well-meaning.
Oh, for absolutely.
Well-meaning.
I never said she was ill-meaning. Although with some of the things that she was making.
Yeah, you could say that she was the villain of this movie, especially when Izzy gets like food poisoning from eating all of it. It's like Ty is like, why are you cooking all this disgusting shit? And Izzy's like, I kind of like it. And he eats a bunch of it. And then he gets sick and he's like, I'm going to puke.
And he also gets involved helping with the cooking. And he's sifting flour. And he's like, how much of this stuff am I supposed to put in anyway? Because she's baking a cake. And she goes, I don't know. I've never put flour in a cake. And that I found very entertaining. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then we get kind of a ticking clock situation where somehow this virus Digimon creature has set off some nuclear missiles. And then I think Ty asked Izzy, like, how could they have done that? And he was like, well, have you heard of a semiconductor?
Oh, yeah.
And then he's like, oh, is that a train driver that's only part-time or something? And that was also so silly, but like really entertaining.
It's great. So funny that you mentioned that about the nuclear missiles and like how did it get in there? It's because Izzy has hooked up some kind of way to infiltrate the U.S. military's internet service, or just like the military's internet service with some kind of satellite phone. And that's how they get on the internet, because everyone's internet is out because the Digimon virus is like fucking everything up. So he's able to like navigate the internet with this military phone thing. And that is what leads Diaboromon to the military codes. Who's the virus?
Yeah, I mean, they don't confirm that, but they speculate that could be the case.
Yeah. So yeah, then there's the ticking clock, which is similar to Summer Wars as well.
Yeah.
And then there is a thing where like so much of they're getting so many emails about the battle that it's slowing down their servers and it's slowing down their Digimon. So instead of helping them, the emails are all encouraging. They're like, we need you to help, but it's fucking with them.
What is his name? What's the virus's name? I'll never
Diaboromon.
And then he also Diaboromon. So Diaboromon's been kind of teasing them and taunting them and communicating via email as well.
Mm-hmm. So Izzy finds some way to. He understands now that since the emails are slowing them down, if he tells them to forward them all to Diaboromon, it'll slow it down. And so all the kids do that, and what is it? Metal Garurumon and Metal Greymon digivolve together into Omnimon, who is like a Megazord of both of them. It has like cannons and a huge sword, and he uses like the power of the good encouragement to attack Diaboromon, and that's basically the end of Diaboromon, or so you think.
Yeah, because Diaboromon had managed to copy himself, replicate himself, very much, like a virus. And so that there was this search to try and find the original, and then that final battle, and then they're failing, and then they can feel the encouragement of all of the Digi children.
So this was one of the things that carried over from the first vignette, at least in the American version, is so in the first vignette, Ty is able to wake up Greymon with a whistle to encourage him to battle on and defeat Parrotmon. In this one, he is like in the digital world. He somehow just like disappears into the digital world to help his friend, which was beautifully animated. I thought it was very unique, very cool looking, very abstract. Nice. And then so he's on Metal Greymon's back, and he's like, "Hey, I don't have a whistle with me this time to encourage you, but just know that I'm here for you. I'm here with you, and so are all these other people." And then Metal Greymon's like, "I feel the power." And then they evolve into,
which is a little bit cheesy to me.
Oh yeah, but is that what happened in Summer Wars too? Because I think that it was
everybody from the internet was donating their points or their something or other in order to push it over the limit where the main character was able to then win in this game and beat
Okay.
the other character.
So it is kind of like that, though. Like
There's some
people from all over.
crowdsourcing.
Yeah. There are people all over the world
it's
encouraging the main character.
It's less abstract feels.
Yeah.
It's more like currency inside of this digital world that's established. But yeah.
I thought that the animation once they got into the internet was very similar to Summer Wars, though. Like they even had the red outline once they're in there.
Although
the
for
digital...
some reason when they weren't when Ty and Izzy went in from sheer will
well, it was
at
Ty,
that part.
It was Ty and Matt.
Was it Ty and Matt?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have any outline whatsoever.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. It was all color block. There was no lines.
Yeah, it seemed like abstract geometric shapes creating them. It was really cool looking.
And the background seemed very like watercolory and abstract then too.
I just thought once they got into the digital world and they were fighting Inframon / Diaboromon, it looked a lot like Summer Wars to me.
I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah.
Except that one part where they went in, it was very different.
Yes.
From anything else.
Yeah, that was unlike anything that I've really seen in anime, and I really loved it. I thought it was so beautiful. And then they win, and there's like I think the additional scene is where Willis is celebrating, like, oh, this is the end of Diaboromon, and he was happy that it wasn't going to nuke Colorado where he was.
There's a very similar scene in the third featurette. So I wonder if they borrowed it from the third featurette and put it at the end of the second featurette to tie Willis into it being his fault that this virus happened. And then also to, have it be some kind of continuity into the next featurette.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happened. But I think of the three, the second one was my favorite.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, it was super fucking funny.
It was funny.
It was super funny, and it was like Summer Wars, and I love Summer Wars. So, yeah, and I think that this is the one that had Less Than Jake and Mighty Mighty Boss Tones in it.
Yeah, I guess it was funny, and there were enjoyable parts. There was something, because of knowing the story from Summer Wars and knowing that Summer Wars does it so much better and that the animation is so much better in Summer Wars and everything's much better explained. Mm-hmm. There's much more continuity. It's very well thought out compared to how this feels since it's so disjointed. That it felt like kind of Summer Wars, but worse.
Yeah, I'll agree.
Which kind of killed it for me a little bit, but it's not like I hated watching it. Like it was very funny and it was entertaining, but some of it's like, well, I know it's going to happen and I know the story. So there you go.
All right. And so we get to the third featurette, which takes place in present day, which is starring the cast from season 2. So it's a bunch of different people. Like Kari gives some kind of narration about like, well, the original Digidestined are a little older, but they're still around. They still help each other out. They still help us out, which is true. In the second season, the original Digidestined are still around and they still, participate. They don't go into the digital world as often, but they're still there. And like the new Digimon kids ask them for help every once in a while and like advice. So this one more focuses on TK and Kari who have grown up, and Davis and Yoli and Cody, and I think that there's one more. Oh, is there one more? Oh, and then Willis.
I mean, it was Willis, yeah.
Yeah. So now we're into this new evolution of Digimon, which completely changes the game. And if you don't know anything about it, you're gonna get lost. If you had just watched the first Digimon series, and then you watch this featurette, you'd be like, "What the fuck is that? How did that happen? Who are these people?" Look, it's difficult.
Because for me, the third one was kind of my favorite.
The third one is your favorite. Okay. Did it help that I was there, like explaining some stuff to you?
What I enjoyed about it was that there was this mystery and this kind of it follows thing.
Oh, okay.
I liked. It was just super fascinating to have. This kid has these twin Digimon, and one of them is digivolved a couple of levels and keeps appearing and disappearing and seems to be attacking him and saying something mysterious, which is like, you have to go back. And what was the other thing he was saying?
Destroy.
Yeah. And so it seems to be attacking him. He says anybody that tries to like get close to me or tries to do anything about it disappears.
Yeah.
And so, leave me alone. You can't. And it reminded me of Rogue, where she's this kind of like, don't get close to me, because the only thing that ever happens when somebody's close to me is that I hurt them. And so I liked that kind of storyline, and also the kind of, my Digimon has turned against me and I don't have control over it. And I don't know when it's going to appear, but every time I have to fight it off, and then it just disappears again. So I liked the mystery of it, and there was something very comic booky to me, which I kind of loved.
Well, do you want to do the synopsis for the third one then? Since you enjoyed it the most?
Sure. So you think it's over. It's not over. It is far from over.
It's never over.
We haven't watched the third featurette.
As long as we're making money.
Yeah.
It's never over.
Exactly. So the idea is Willis caused that virus in the first place. And we find out by the end of this that it's had repercussions. There's remnants of the virus that are still around. And one of the ways it's still around is that it infected one of his Digimon.
I think it's called
Kokomon, who keeps appearing to him, and he keeps having to fight it. And apparently Kari and TK are in New York visiting somebody.
Yeah, I don't remember what they said that they were there doing, but Kari and TK are there. And I just remember Kari being like, and partly to make Davis jealous, because in the series, Davis has a huge crush on Kari, and he's jealous of her and TK's relationship because they grew up together and they were like a part of the original Digimon crew. And he feels kind of like, I guess, like insecure about it. And like, he's like, I'll never have the relationship that they have, but she's such a babe.
And Willis is the only American kid, and he happens to also be in New York. So Kari and TK kind of stumble upon him in an alleyway, struggling with, Kokomon, who's appeared one of these times. And even though Willis has been mentioned in the other two featurettes, he acts like he doesn't know who Kari and TK are, or recognize that they have Digimon, because he kind of goes like stay away, because it's kind of like, I don't know who you are, but like, stay away, anybody who gets like, don't follow me. And there was like no recognition of him being like, oh guys, I'm in a situation, you can't help me, but love you, bye. Which felt a little weird to me. And I don't know if this was actually the first time that Willis is introduced as a character, and because he's a season 2 character and he had nothing to do with season 1.
Willis, from what I remember, is not in season 1 or season 2. Like, he's a movie specific character.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not 100% certain on this, so I could be wrong. And if I am, I'll put a graphic up over my face right now saying like, Joe, you're such a fucking idiot.
I'm going to put a dunce cap on you.
Yeah. But I don't think that Willis is in the show. But
in one of the articles I was reading, there was somebody who said, because we have a character in this who is American in the series, that it means that this isn't just a show for Japanese kids. This is a show for all kids, and Digimon is about everybody being inclusive. So I don't know. Again,
could be wrong. I just don't remember Willis as much as I remember like everyone else in this movie. But oddly, I remember his Digimon, Terriermon. I remember seeing it and what it looked like and being like, oh, that's a cute Digimon.
That was adorable. It's this bunny with these huge ears.
Yeah, he was very adorable.
Really cute.
And that's the other thing too. Like, there's not a lot of really adorable Digimon. Like, they were all kind of more kind of hard edge.
I don't know. All the baby forms have massive eyes and big, like just all of the classic things you do to anything to make it cute. Make the eyes big, make the head big, forehead big, tiny body. Yeah,
but there's no like Digimon equivalent to like Pikachu,
I felt like Terriermon was a perfect Pikachu sort of.
Well, it had like the exact same eyes and everything, but I'm
It just
saying
had
like,
like big floppy ears.
I'm saying like in terms of popularity.
Oh, sure. I remember seeing, was it Agumon?
The orange dinosaur?
I remember
Yeah.
seeing toys and stuff for that.
Yeah, but he's not anywhere near as cute as Pikachu.
No. Unless you're into dinosaurs.
Yeah, and a lot of kids were.
Unless you think
A lot
lizards
of
are super
kids
cute.
still are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, as far as merchandising goes, I don't think, Digimon was ever as popular as Pokemon in that sense, even though apparently TV ratings were somewhat similar.
Well, I always liked Digimon a lot because it felt like some kind of underdog. Like, yeah, this is really good. And there were some like kind of adult scary themes going on in
Yeah.
Digimon as opposed to Pokemon.
It is
what
a
I
little
remember.
grittier, a little darker.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. When we talked about Pokemon, we didn't talk about Digimon. But when we talk about Digimon, we feel a need to talk about Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm even saying like certain Digimon are Pokemon, and it's just because like it's so ingrained in society.
And I think it's partly because it came out earlier, too. That was our established thing. And then because this came out and then it's similar to it, then,
Yeah, I don't think Digimon even had a Game Boy game or anything. It had the Tamagotchi thing, which you could battle your friends who had Digimon Tamagotchis, but I didn't know anyone that had those except for maybe one person, but it was nowhere near as popular.
Right.
But I did like Digimon a lot, but I guess it just didn't stick in my memory as much. I didn't spend as much time with it as Pokemon because it was just so popular and it was very ubiquitous, whereas Digimon was kind of like a niche underground, like, oh, this is the hipster shit.
Yeah, and Pokemon came at you from every angle.
Mm-hmm.
It was, video games, both, home console and the sort of mobile consoles.
Mm-hmm.
It was a TV series. There were cards. It was a game. There was, extensive merchandising. And then, of course, you have the movies.
You wanna know what's fucking wild is I played Pokemon the trading card Game Boy game. They had a game where you played the card game on Game Boy. Like, how stupid. But anyways, the third featurette, what happens in it? We were in the middle of talking about, we got very sidetracked.
Sure. Then there's this mission to go find Willis and help him out with this situation, despite the fact that he said, "Don't help me." And one of either TK's or Kari's, I was about to call it fucking Pokemon, Digimon go after him and kind of like look at where he's going. And then they're like, well, maybe he's going home. We all have to go to Colorado. And then they call the 3 season 2 characters whose names I do not remember.
Davis, Cody, and Yoli.
Okay. They call them and say, like, I know you're on a beach somewhere, but you have to get to Colorado. And they're like, how? We don't even have money. And then they still like figure out a way, which actually becomes kind of an entertaining running joke about how they're using their uncle's flyer miles or this company, that the taxi company that the uncle, whatever. And at some point they're like, no more uncle's things. I can't take it anymore. And that was entertaining.
Yeah, all of the uncle's stuff is like janky, shitty.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a terrible airline. It's a terrible taxi service. And funnily enough, all of those jokes were omitted in the Japanese version. There's no uncles going on.
I'm sure.
But why not? But why is that omitted from the Japanese version? Do they not have uncles in Japan? They have uncles.
You can't think of it in that order, though, because the featurette was made in Japan, and then that joke was added for the American version.
Yeah, but how did they get to everywhere in the Japanese version is what I'm wondering. Because the uncles thing made sense and it was funny.
Sure, we can't say and that was, the uncles were omitted from the Japanese version because it suggests that the American version came first.
You're right.
But it was a funny joke. The third featurette also seemed to have some product placement. I didn't notice product placement in the first or second one, but this had a couple of Mazda advertisements and had a Mazda car where you can fully read Mazda. Also had KLM Airlines, which is a fucking random airline. It's a Dutch airline, and you fly it a lot in Europe, between different places in Europe.
Yeah, and I think at a certain point there's an Amtrak train. I don't know if it's in the second or third one.
Oh yeah.
But there is an Amtrak train.
It is in the third one because luckily this is exactly where we are in the plot summary. So TK and Kari end up stuck on a train, which delays them from getting to Willis. So the three people that are new, whose names I've literally already forgotten, Davis, Yoli,
Cody,
and Yoli, Cody, Davis. I was about to say Yodi.
I loved Davis. Davis was like my fucking guy in the second season. Yeah. Well, he's not dressed as he is usually dressed.
He's so obnoxious.
He was fucking funny though. Like, and his Digimon Vmon was very funny as well. And I always like enjoyed him fighting to try and get with Kari. I thought it was like, it was a fun thing. But in the show, he had this like furry parka that had flames all over it, and he looked badass. And for some reason, I also loved the goggles. Like, he had goggles and Ty had goggles in the first season, and
that became real big after the year 2000.
Yeah, I don't know, but I thought it was like such a cool little addition to their outfit. And I think
it can still be seen at Burning Man.
I think that maybe in the first episode, Davis didn't have goggles, and Ty like gave him his goggles, and Davis was like, "Oh my god, this is the passing of the torch moment."
Okay.
So it was like kind of symbolic too that he was like now the leader of the Digimon crew, even though he kind of wasn't. Like, it was TK who was more the leader. Like, he was the more mature, smart one, and Davis was like, "I got all the heart," you know.
So Kari and TK are a little late to the party, but Yoli, Cody, and Davis, it's like I've written it on the wall behind you. I just had to stare at something to concentrate for a moment, are already kind of helping and trying to fight this creature that Kokomons become. And then the Digimon that Kari and TK have are in the forms of these like angel creatures that are pretty rad, actually.
Yeah, they are. So I think I told you about this in maybe the second featurette, is that TK and Kari, their like rookie version of the Digimon are really lame and they're very weak. But when they digivolve into Angemon and Angewomon.
Angewomon.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember listening to the names, and the second name, I was like, I didn't catch that. It got kind of, I didn't realize this.
Yeah, Angemon and Angewomon.
Yeah. God, that's dumb.
Yeah. But they're very powerful. Like, even in their just champion form, which is like right after rookie, they're super powerful and they're super badass. And when they evolve even more, it's like they're some of the most powerful Digimon that were in the series.
Okay.
And what continue with this, because I have a whole other.
I'm not going to be able to finish this.
Yeah, I have a whole other thing.
We keep going on these tangents.
I have a whole other thing about Angemon that I'll get to later.
Okay. Once they've kind of gone into Kokomon and are kind of, it gets kind of this weird sort of meta situation where they've gone inside of him, but then they also see him. So it's kind of like they're looking at the spirit inside, or maybe sort of his original form before there's this corruption from the virus. But it's basically like he's just going, "Kill me, kill me." And he was saying, you need to go back, and then when he does this extra digivolve thing, he's making everybody children. He's turning everybody young again, although it doesn't affect TK and Kari for some reason. But there's this, funny moment where everybody's turning into like very, very small children. And the idea is that you need to go back and undo the fact that I got this virus. But what he's really saying is like, and you need to destroy it, which by the way will destroy me. So kill me.
Yeah.
Kill me, please. And they don't waste a lot of time being sad about this situation once they do kill him. And his twin brother, is like looking bummed for a second. But then Davis comes up to Willis and is like, don't be sad about this.
Yeah. You're part of the Digidestined and we're a team and we're always got your back. And then Terriermon's like, yeah, I always got your back. And then Willis is like, okay.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I've never had a team before. Because they say that his only friends are like the Digimon, his twin Digimon.
What a fucking loser.
And then he's like, oh, well, I guess it doesn't matter that my best friend that I've had for years has just died, tried to kill me multiple times and died now. I guess I won't be sad because I got family.
Well, then we get a scene later on where he's on the phone talking to his parents or something. And there's a new egg of a new Kokomon who's been reborn.
Yeah, so it does suggest that not dead forever. Oh yeah, that was the thing that Davis said. He's like, because Digimon
never really die.
And I was like, don't they though?
Yeah, they're just digital stuff on the internet. I guess they wouldn't,
Maybe.
You know how they say like things that you put on the internet last forever? Digimon.
Yeah, but I feel like, AI can be destroyed. Whatever, that'd be a whole other conversation. That's opening up a can of worms.
Yeah, it certainly is.
So there are over 20 Pokemon films.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the only Digimon movie?
No, I mean, I think there's still a Digimon series going on.
Yeah, but is this the only movie? Or did they never
a movie?
make a movie?
I was going to say, is this a movie at all?
Yeah. It could be argued that it isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. Though oddly, I prefer this to the Pokemon movie. I think this is a better...
I was just trying to do that in my head because I was thinking about, we're coming up close on AMP numbers.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel about this compared to the Pokemon movie. I think I enjoyed watching the Pokemon movie more. It's got a ton of plot holes and there's a lot of ridiculous things about it. But I thoroughly enjoyed the entire thing. Mm-hmm. Whereas there are parts of this where I got kind of bored or parts of this where I was confused and parts where I was just like, this feels really disjointed, which makes sense.
Yeah.
It is.
I felt like a lot of this also felt rushed. Like things are happening so fast, especially in the third one, which is why I think that one might be my least favorite.
And that's part of the disjointed thing. And it's because, we've talked a lot about the differences between short films and feature length films. And a lot of it's like, you can't waste time. You got to get this information really quick. And it does that 3 times in a row for 3 completely, separate but related stories. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. I can't give it as high of a score as I did for Pokemon because it's a little sloppy the way they tried to do it. And it was to make money, and I'm sure they made it. So well done them. But this is not a standalone film. You can't just go to this and watch it as a movie and kind of get what's going on.
But do you think Pokemon is a standalone film?
Yeah, I do.
I don't think it is. I think we only think of it as a standalone film because Pokemon was so ubiquitous and we had familiarity with it.
I don't know. I mean, because I told you that remembering stuff from Pokemon for me was like trying to remember a dream from a month ago that I didn't write down.
Yeah.
And to me, I still think that, I got that world. I got what was going on. And yeah, I mean, this does an okay job of setting some stuff up in the origin story. But I mean, they had the opportunity. You have an origin story and you still don't explain that that's an origin story.
Yeah.
You're just like, this one time, this funny thing happened, but you don't explain that is what led to these kids being digidestined and being kind of pulled into this story world, which is kind of an important point. It just feels like, oh, okay, that happened, unless you knew that. And because the fact that you don't know that these, I guess there's like a line of VO where it's like, we are the digidestined. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of like me and my brother are part of this group called the Digidestined. It doesn't say like, and all these other kids like with us, they became that too.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
wish they would have just added that little line there to be like, everyone who saw it knew something was special happening, or not everyone could see it, and they became the Digidestined or whatever. But they don't have that from what I can remember anyway.
So yeah, to me, this was harder to follow as a feature film, which makes sense. It was never supposed to be a feature film, and it's supposed to be a little wink and a nod to the people who already love the series and, you know, want to see it in higher quality animation or a different sort of style of animation and showcased in this certain way. But I don't think Fox Kids totally failed, you know, because I was like, this is a weird setup. Something funny is going on. But it wasn't so bad where I was like, oh, this never should have ever happened.
Yeah, and to your point, this movie was pretty negatively reviewed. And one of the critiques of it was like, for parents or people that aren't familiar with the series, it was a little hard to get into.
Yeah. I would probably watch the Pokemon movie again. I don't know that I'd watch the Digimon movie again. And so I have to give it a lower score.
So you're going to crank it now?
I'm going to crank it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to give Digimon, I'm really struggling between a 5.5 and a 6.
What did you give Pokemon? A 6?
6.5.
Okay.
I'll go 6.
Okay.
I'll go 6.
Digimon. I'm also going to go 6.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean,
but that's 3 points higher than your
3 points
Pokemon
higher than my
score.
Pokemon. I did
and
say I prefer this.
0.5 less than my Pokemon score.
Yeah. I mean, this movie like brought up a lot of nostalgia for me.
Of course.
It has a great. Here's the things. Here's the positives that I think about it. It has a great soundtrack. I think the animation is a lot better than in the Pokemon movie. I mean, especially that second one. It's people say that it's like a lot like Summer Wars, and I loved Summer Wars. I like the second one a lot. I think it's way, 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 way funnier than the Pokemon movie.
Yeah, the jokes are better.
But I don't think it's like the greatest thing ever made. I think that especially that third one feels so rushed to me, and you don't get a proper introduction to all of the brand new characters that they just throw at you. So I think the first and the second one are pretty good. The third one fails for me.
Yeah, and I think the reason why those characters didn't feel so thrown at me and it didn't feel as rushed is that all of the characters were thrown at me. Every single character.
Well, you know Ty from the first vignette and the second vignette. You get more time with Ty.
But Ty's not in the third one.
Yeah. So, but I'm saying like you have more of a relationship with Ty across 2 vignettes versus
it's like
the
Izzy
third
is
one.
thrown at me, his mom's thrown at me. Like everybody's thrown at me as somebody who's brand new to this. I'm just saying for me, I'm not saying that I'm not trying to change your mind or say that what you're saying is wrong. I'm saying that, you know, the probably why that didn't land that way for me is because of that.
Well, also the third one also introduces a new form of digi-evolving as well that I even forgot about. And so, you know, you see Digimon digivolve in the regular way in the first 2, and then you see how they digivolve.
But in the
third
first one, that wasn't normal either, right? Because it was just suddenly sporadically happening to that initial Digimon that we see.
Yeah, but between like the baby forms and the rookie, that just kind of happens. Like it's not like a whole thing of like digivolve now. That those are kind of more organic.
I thought you were saying that it's based on the threat level, and that one just kept sporadically like happening and kept getting higher and higher and higher.
Well, that one also wasn't belonging to either of them.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's weird though, right? For the series, that's weird.
No, I mean like
for the Digimon to be in the real world and to not be attached to any particular human and to be kind of digivolving whenever.
Well, the thing about the series, from what I can remember, is they just encounter like wild Digimon that can digivolve and do all kinds of different things.
In the digital world, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, in the human world, I feel like they just never really came into the human world until
Yeah, exactly.
this movie.
So that's why the first one is also an unusual situation.
Yeah, but I didn't mind it.
Sure.
Whereas the third one, it's like I had to remember, like, oh yeah, they go through these eggs evolutions, and they have different forms of the champion evolutions and different forms of the ultimate revolution or evolutions. So yeah, 6 for Digimon the movie from me, 6 for Digimon the movie from you.
Yep.
So yeah, that's our episode on Digimon the movie. Thank you for listening. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please do that. We have clips and now video podcasts a lot more often than we have been doing. Whole podcast episodes. If you don't want to see our beautiful faces, you can subscribe to our Apple Podcasts or look us up on Spotify. You can just hear the audio versions. If you want to reach out to us, it's the Anime Movie Podcast at gmail.com, or you can follow us on Instagram at the Anime Movie Podcast and slide in them DMs, baby. If you have any suggestions for movies to do, I know that we've gotten a couple of YouTube comments on some things that we should do, and they're definitely on the way. And yeah, thank you for listening. I think that's everything from me.
And that's everything from me as well.
Well, that's all, folks.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Anime Movie Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at the Anime Movie Podcast, and you can reach out via email at the Anime Movie Podcast at gmail.com. Please subscribe, rate, and review, and tell a friend. Thanks. Have a good one. Bye.